are back. We're going to go red for women. What is the #1 killer of women? You might be surprised what that is. Dr. Stephen Stewart, medical director of the Arizona Cardio Sleep Facility, a certified cardiovascular and sleep medicine doctor. He's here to tell us about it, what it is. Dr. Stewart, nice to have you on.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so what is it? What's the #1 killer of women?
Heart disease.
Heart disease.
Yes.
I bet you most people would guess breast cancer.
Most people would because of all the publicity about breast cancer, but actually it's heart disease.
Heart disease. What do you call, I mean, what defines heart disease? What is that? Is that umbrella?
It's an umbrella. It includes heart attack, cardiovascular disease, stroke, heart failure, arrhythmias.
Okay, so a lot of stuff. No wonder you lump all that stuff into heart disease, it's big. So what are some of the stats on women and heart disease?
Well, 44 million American women have some form of heart disease.
That's a lot.
Yeah. 23 million women have had a heart attack.
Oh my gosh, I mean, really? And seriously, aren't men more, we generally think of men when we talk about heart disease, heart attack especially, don't we think of men more?
Usually you do, but it turns out that women die from heart attack more than men. Men have heart attacks and survive. Women tend to
once they go
die.
down, they're down, man.
Yeah.
I wonder, that's interesting, isn't it? Because usually women are stronger than guys in most, like, I mean, except lifting weights, okay. But health-wise, we're healthier babies, we have, you know, everything. So we outlive men usually, so, you know, that's surprising that heart disease would knock us down faster.
Right.
Worse.
And a lot of women don't recognize the signs and symptoms of heart disease. That's part of the problem.
Because are they different again from men? I mean, how do we do that?
Well, symptoms are different. Usually you think of the classic heart attack, pain in the chest. Women sometimes have different symptoms. It's not always chest pain. It could be shortness of breath or feeling faint, palpitations, nausea, pain somewhere else, sometimes the jaw or the neck.
Really?
Yeah.
How fascinating. So I guess kind of the overall rule is if something really weird starts happening to you that doesn't normally happen to you, you should take it seriously.
Yeah, don't ignore it, get it checked out.
Wow. Any way to prevent getting heart disease as a woman? What do we do?
Well, you know, the American Heart Association came up with a program called Go Red for Women, which is an educational program that helps women recognize and prevent heart disease. The G stands for get your numbers, blood pressure, cholesterol, glucose. O stands for own your lifestyle, be healthy, exercise, watch your diet, don't smoke.
Yes. Dr. Lemoy, sad one on that.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So these resources are available. Go Red for Women has a website, goredforwomen.org, or American Heart Association talks about all kinds of things to help reduce your risk for heart disease.
Now, I thought this was interesting because sleep apnea was something that came up in terms of being a risk for women.
Right.
Is that connected somehow to heart disease, Dr. Stewart?
It is. It is. There is a big connection between sleep apnea and heart disease. Having sleep apnea that's untreated raises your risk of a heart attack by 300%.
300%?
Yeah.
Okay, sleep apnea. Now, do a lot of people have sleep apnea?
It's very common. It hasn't been recognized until recently, but it's really an epidemic when you look at the statistics. About a third of people over 55 have some form of sleep apnea.
How bizarre. Okay, now how would you know you had sleep apnea? What are the symptoms on that?
Well, there's a lot of them. Daytime fatigue, sleepiness during the day, probably the most common one. Morning headaches, high blood pressure, irritability, having to urinate a lot at night, palpitations, those can all be signs of sleep apnea.
And when we say sleep apnea, it's you wake up or you don't sleep well, or what exactly is sleep apnea?
Okay, sleep apnea is where you don't breathe properly when you're asleep. When you go to sleep, the muscles in your throat and neck relax, and in some people they relax too much, and that restricts the airflow, so you're not breathing properly. So when you have sleep apnea, you stop breathing per up to 10 seconds at a time, and it can happen multiple times during the night. During that time that you're not breathing, you're starved for oxygen. The brain is starved for oxygen, the heart, other organs. It interrupts your sleep pattern. You don't totally wake up, so a lot of times you're not aware of it, but that interrupts the sleep pattern, and then you feel tired the next day.
Sure. Now, and you don't, of course, automatic breathing is automatic at night if it's not you're in trouble. But
Right.
obviously there are still some hitches with that. So if you, like you say, some of those symptoms that you noticed, if you notice those, how do you find out if you have sleep apnea?
Well, you can call our office. We can do a free sleep screening for you. We have something called the Epworth scale that it's just a little test that takes a few minutes, and it gives us an idea of what the risk is that you have sleep apnea.
Oh, okay.
And that's free service through our office, or you can see your doctor, your primary care doctor. They can do it for you. Or if you have any of those symptoms, come in for an appointment and we can check you out.
And what do you, the sleep things does this mean a sleep test in the lab, or what? How do you actually get tested for sleep apnea?
Yeah, there's different ways to test for it. The most detailed one is to spend the night in our sleep lab, where we have you hooked up to some monitors. We observe you during sleep. We record your breathing patterns, brain waves, electrocardiogram, all those things. And then we can tell, do you have sleep apnea or not? Is it a mild case or a severe case?
Okay.
So that's one way. It can also be done with the home sleep monitor. It's a little device that you take home. Company sends it to you, or you go pick it up, and you just record overnight with the home sleep monitor.
Oh, and that's an easy one too. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's say you go through this and then you find out you have sleep apnea.
Right.
What's the fix?
Well, there's several fixes. The common or the gold standard is what we call CPAP. It's a mask and a machine that breathes for you. When you stop breathing, the machine will breathe for you.
Oh.
And it can record when you're breathing normally. If you stop breathing, it'll breathe for you. So that will correct the sleep apnea. That works for a lot of people. Some people don't do too well with the mask on the face. So in that
If you're
case,
claustrophobic, forget it.
yeah, right.
Gotta
So
be
in that
something
case, there's it is becoming more popular, more used. There's what's called an oral appliance, which is fitted by a dentist, custom fit to your mouth. And what it does is it moves your jaw forward, opens up the airway, and eliminates sleep apnea.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
And both of those solutions are for everything from mild to severe?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it just depends. And of course, you'll give them the thing. Is this life-threatening? I mean, obviously heart disease is, and if sleep apnea contributes, but is sleep apnea itself life-threatening?
It can be, yeah, depending on how severe it is. But yeah, the statistics are that 44,000 deaths per year could be attributed to sleep apnea or its complications.
Oh. Okay, that's bad. You just wake up dead, right? I mean, that's not a good thing to have happen. It's like, what? Wait a minute, I was only sleeping. I mean, of course, we joke about that may be the best way to go, but you don't want to go too early, I mean,
Right.
obviously.
Before your time, sure.
Yeah, and if sleep apnea can help prevent something as serious heart disease, that's a pretty big thing. We didn't mention about there's an online study at Health eHeart, so
Right,
women
yeah,
can go
American
on.
Heart Association has, it's online, it's called Health eHeart, and it's a little survey that you can go online, it's anonymous, and it asks you about your diet, your exercise patterns, your sleep patterns, all those things, and hopefully with enough data, we'll be able to better identify patterns and what can be done to prevent heart disease.
So a very good start.
Yeah.
You know, to just getting a start on how you may be doing. Heart, or Health eHeart online, and then of course the one you mentioned before for the Go Red. Just
Go Red for Women.
For Women.
Yeah.
.com.
.org.
.org. Whatever. Look it up. You can find that.
American
that
Heart
helps too.
Association has it.
Good places to start. Stay healthy. Dr. Stephen Stewart, thanks for joining us. Fascinating and good information. We want to stay alive well for as long as we're here.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. Don't go away. We'll take a break. We'll be right back on Morning Scramble.